What's different between today and 2008 market crash? 2008 market crash was about no income, no assets, NINA, loans. Banks were giving them money left and right. Stated income. You're trying to qualify for a $720,000 loan. How much money did you make last year? I'm a school teacher, $48,000. You're not going to get qualified for this. Tom, I'm going to ask this question one more time. How much money did you make last year? I just told you, $48,000. Do you want to get qualified for this or not? Yeah. Okay. One more time. How much money did you make last year? 62? That's what it was. No income, no assets in 2008, right? 2007. And then I remember the month when I knew it's over, because the one guy in LA who was making $400,000 a month at an office in Topanga Valley, in Topanga or Canoga, 30,000 square feet of office space. November of 2007, he shuts it down.
Ooh.
And this is right after you're seeing WAMU, Countrywide, all these other companies that are doing what they're doing. Very problematic when that took place. So then you saw cities like Riverside County, 65% houses foreclosure.
Oh,
then you had loan modification. Then you have people that were buying 5-6 homes paying the negative amortization payment, which means if you got a loan, this was a program that came here from Australia. With the story you always hear about that this program was in Australia, we brought it in America. It was meant to only be for people who are affluent. Okay, you got a $20 million loan on a house. You got $40 million in a bank account. I'll give you $20 million, no problem. You got 4 payments to make. You got your 15-year loan, which is going to be the biggest loan. You got your 30-year fix, which is going to be reasonable, but it's not a 15-year loan. Then you have your interest only, that you're literally only paying interest, and the loan stays the same amount. Or you got your negative amortization payment, which means the loan gets bigger every month that you pay it because it's negative amortization. Every month the loan gets bigger. Okay. So for example, for the average person in America, it would have been something like this. It would have been NAGAM payment was $1,200 a month. Interest only was $1,800 a month. 30-year fix was $3,100 a month, and 15-year was $4,500 a month, okay? So people are like, dude, buy another house, and another house, and another. So now I got 5 houses that I'm paying $1,200 on. Well, I can afford to do that, except that was only for 2 or 3 or 5 years. And then all of a sudden, your $1,200 payment goes to $4,200 times 5 houses. How do you pay $20,000 a month? You can't do it. Boom. Foreclosure, foreclosure, foreclosure. So that's not the case study of today. The case study of today is somehow, some way, the government thought it's a good idea to lower interest rates to 1%. And we had 3% loans that were going on. And then we talk about 128-month expansion. By the way, if there's no COVID, that would have been a 150-month expansion that we would have had. That's not good to have a 150-month expansion, because during that cycle that we went on, Tom, money was so cheap that people were just picking up money and buying stuff left and right. It was so cheap. Go get a house. Go get a car. Rates were low. These big companies are getting $50 million lines, $100 million lines, $200 million lines. Go get as much money as you can. Then COVID hits. When COVID hits, philosophically, it was a show. Go work from home, 18 months. That's what you got to do. Essential, non-essential. And then when that took place, companies like Twitter and many others said, at Twitter under Jack Dorsey, you can work from home for the rest of your life. What a noble company. That's what we got to do. And then so we go through that cycle, and then people started abusing employers, and they had 2 jobs that they weren't telling anybody, but they're making 82 here and 88 here. So they're making $170,000 thinking they can do this fraud that they're doing for the rest of their lives. And then they're living a $170,000 a year lifestyle, not realizing that's not going to be around forever. And then the money that they put into the system, all of a sudden people have cash in the bank like never before. So we had $2.2 trillion of cash, Americans. Every quarter, that thing went from 2.2 trillion to 1.7 trillion to 1.4 trillion to 1.1 trillion. And our savings as a nation kept going lower and lower and lower and lower. So then we have more money being printed into the economy. And then we had the election. Then now COVID is gone. Now we got to get people to come back to work. They don't want to come back to work. They want to work from home. Then companies like David Solomon, Goldman Sachs, they start saying, no, you got to be there for accountability on Monday morning and all this other stuff. If you don't, you're not getting your bonus. People started kind of getting creative. That's unfair. That's not cool. I'm going to go get another job. Many did. Then some companies came out and said, no, we're just not doing that. And then, that is taking place. And then you have a bit of war. You have craziness going on with another war. You have all of these things taking place, and then suddenly Jerome Powell sees inflation's going to 8%. Wait a minute, what's going on here? We got to lower it to 2%. How do you lower it to 2%? Let's start increasing interest rates. This is crazy, we raised 4.88% in the shortest amount of time ever in the history of America. There's a chart on Statista. You got to see this. It's a great visual. And it shows historically when we've had to increase rates, it's over a 3-year span, or it's over a 6-year span, or a 3.5-year span. No. This is over a 12-month, 15-month span. 4.88%. Boom. Like this. Hoping inflation goes down. Okay. Inflation moves a little bit. Sales of homes to the lowest in 20 years. Mortgage applications, lowest in 27 years. People who were doing loans, I don't know if you have friends who were doing loans or mortgages or real estate. These are guys that were making $500,000 3 years ago per month. They're not making nothing right now. Guys who were making $100,000 a month are having a hard time making $8,000 a month right now in loans. There is no loan application because even new homes are not being sold to do the loans of new homes. So home sales are down because typically when refi comes down, people will sell homes. No one's selling homes today. Why are they not selling homes today? Because they're still sitting on some cash and they don't want to give up that 3% loan they got a year and a half ago. And then you look at the data. Okay, let's just say I do sell this house. I got to go buy another house, but I got to get that house at 8%. I'm not willing to do it. Why would I do it? So I'm not going to. There is no motive to sell the house. So now, what's the ticking time bomb? A few things. One, Jerome Powell is trying to increase rates, hoping unemployment increases, because that's what we need. They need the unemployment to increase. It's not moving. It's still 3.7, 3.5, 3.8, 3.9. It's not moving. It's right there. Okay, so either we need unemployment to go up or we need people to run out of money. If people run out of money and they're stressed out, guess what they do? They're going to sell the house. So today, numbers came out saying it's 55% more cheaper to rent than buy. This is the highest we've had ever. It's 55% cheaper to rent than to buy today. This is not a buying season. This is a renting season, okay? This is what Wall Street Journal, many of these other articles we'll talk about. Okay, meanwhile, the economy's growing. The economy is going up. Dow Jones, it's killing it. Based on 7 companies, Magnificent 7. And you know who these Magnificent 7 companies are? NVIDIA, you got these Facebooks, the Amazons, the Apples, these 7 companies that are preventing the country, the market from having a crash. Then while all this stuff is taking place, Powell now is dealing with a war. He's afraid. He wants to raise the rates a quarter, but due to the war that took place in Israel, he doesn't. And then data shows, which is by far the most interesting data to answer your question here, is how much after these 5 situations where we raise the rates multiple times in a span, this being the shortest, in the most condensed time frame, how long does it typically save? Is there a formula of when recession comes, if at all? Here's what they realize. Recession usually comes, on average, 11 months after the last month they raise the rates. So what does this mean? If Powell's no longer going to raise the rates, and the last time they raised the rates was September, let's just say, that means recession's going to come when? Not October. So you got October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August of next year. That's if it follows the trends of the last 5 times when they raised interest rates. So how did I start off the story? I talked about the doctor that has met 4,000 different patients in the 420. You're kind of going through this. The problem of everything I just told you could be completely wrong because there's a fifth when the doctor says, I've never seen this before. Right. So we've never seen current climate before for us to be able to put it and say, well, according to this and according to that, we've never had this situation before.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes me really tense. But there are fundamentals that when I look at, I think, it isn't possible to sustain this. So the thing that I just keep coming back to is debt and interest. And when you look at the charts that show the interest payments and how they're going to go up and up and up, and even people that locked in, say 3-year fixed rates at really low rates in the corporate market, that all goes away in a few years. And so you start looking at just the absolute behemoth numbers that are going to be due to service that money. And it becomes completely untenable. And the bad news is it becomes untenable both at the individual level, where we're more in debt than, I forget, ever or close to it, but Individuals are in psychotic amounts of debt. Corporations are in ridiculous amounts of debt. And the nation is in a ridiculous amount of debt, all while we've had 2 major printing events since 2008. And so now you really have a very unstable market. So there's a great quote, it's called Minsky's financial instability hypothesis, excuse me. And he said, when an economy is stable, people get optimistic. When people are optimistic, they go into debt. When they go into debt, the economy becomes unstable. And now that's even without the crazy rising in interest rates. So we have like this, for me, it seems self-evident that there is that gravity insists that things come back down, but they haven't yet. And so just when I want to get bullish and be like, hey, obviously this is all going to come crashing down, it just keeps not. My intuition is that a recession is inevitable, but the market can remain crazy longer than you can remain solvent, whatever the quote is. Why hasn't it happened yet? And how do you think about, because obviously you have similar concerns that I have, only the paranoid survive, but how do we turn paranoia into an action plan?